You having some tooth pain? Me too. That's why I keep going off screen. So I'm like, what happened? Did you get something pulled?
We'll talk about it in a second.
Oh.
Boom shakalaka.
Top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Worst Ones podcast. This is the safe place for us preachers' kids to come talk our shit. My name is Rudy Wilson. I am a PK. We got Kellie Leasy in the building. She's a PK. Janessa Rowland holding the mouth. She got beat up earlier today. One of these Atlanta broads knocked her out in the street. It's on World Star if y'all want to see it. At the Worst
It's
Ones.
not.
It's on the Worst Ones World Star page.
It's not.
Yeah.
Terry will be here in a second. How you guys doing? You guys' mouths are in sync today.
Yeah, man.
Mine's the top right.
But yeah, mine up here.
But mine, I was gonna have a root canal done on it next Thursday. And the tooth broke like a couple of days ago. So I went to the doctor today, to the dentist today. And essentially he's like, he can do it, but he's not the one who would do the crown. And apparently the tooth broke underneath the gum line. So he was basically saying whoever might not be able to do a crown, period, because the tooth is just so fragile. And so I asked him, well, what's the alternative? And he was like, oh, to just have it extracted and get an implant. And I'm just like, what?
Wow.
I have a couple of those.
So, yeah, like I thought I was adulting and then I wasn't.
No,
I had an appointment. You know what I'm saying? Like I actually went and made the appointment. And now here we are.
I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, mine's not that terrible. I think my gums are just irritated or something where I got my wisdom tooth pulled. And stuff gets stuck or something back there and I can't get it out. And so it just irritates it. So yeah, it's all for mine. But I'm sorry to hear that, Janessa. That sounds terrible.
It's horrible.
Sounds terrible.
I literally walk around with like Orajel and Q-tips everywhere.
Oh,
I've been there, man. Tooth pain is terrible.
it's terrible.
Well, we are praying your strength in the Lord, as they say. Got you on the sick and shut in. Kellie, how you doing besides your tooth?
Long story short, it's been a terrible week.
Oh.
So I had spring break last week. So that was good. But Monday morning hit crazy. I had a student, second grade student, passed away over spring break. Was doing a TikTok challenge, one of those TikTok challenges, and didn't make it.
What's the challenge?
So they said blackout challenge. I don't think it was a black. I think but one of those ones where you stop breathing, so either holding your breath or you wrap something around your neck and you stop breathing. And so of course TikTok shows you where they stop breathing and then they come back to life, even if they, lose color in their face or whatever. But this young man, didn't make it. So that was really tough for me. He came in first thing, talked to his dad. So his dad expressed it to me first thing Monday morning. So so it's been a crazy week since then, having to tell his teachers. I went in and told his class yesterday. So that's been my week. So kids out there, to our 500 million followers, parents, I know we all try to limit what our children are watching and on TikTok and on YouTube. And I know it's kind of like the way of the world at this point. But please, 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 please be mindful of what your children are doing on social media, because it's some crazy things out there. And kids are kids, and developmentally, we would like to think that, oh, my son, my daughter, my nephew, my cousin, my niece, wouldn't do something like that.
Right.
But
Right.
they're kids, and TikTok makes it look like fun, and so yeah. So that
How
was
old
that.
did you say? Second grade?
Second grade. Yep.
Good Lord.
Yep. So 8.
Gotcha.
Yep. So that's been my week. So I've been emotionally just kind of out of it this week.
Gotcha. All right, Terry. How you doing?
Good. I am out doing a couple of shows tonight. So if I abruptly go to black, don't worry about it.
Okay.
That's it.
Gotcha. All right.
Just know that I am healthy and happy and doing my set. So, but I will be back.
I watched a couple of your videos, Terry. It seemed like you had a good time out in New York.
I did. I'm
Yeah.
going to release the whole set soon. So.
Okay. I did capture some of them.
Well, I'm fine. Nothing too major for me. Actually, I literally, like I was telling Kelly earlier, I literally actually just got in Miami just now. Found out that somebody had booked me on a show in Miami, and so I pulled up. So now I'm here. As long as the money's okay, right? I'll make a little 5-hour trip down the street.
Okay.
So now I'm here. Just in time. Timed it up so I can make sure I was in time for the podcast and then the show. So here we are. All right. Well, Janessa, what mouth you have left, please let us know what we are talking about today.
So yes, I am. So the question of the day that I came up with was, what has the pandemic taught the church? A lot has transpired over the past 2 years. The way we do church, the way we've known church has just changed. And I just wanted to have a conversation about what we think the church has learned or hasn't learned or needs to learn or wherever it goes.
Go ahead.
Go for it.
Oh, I mean, one quick thing I would hope that the church has learned is the ability to be flexible. I know virtual services was something that I know some churches had started streaming, online, but this forced kind of all churches to kind of stream online. So I think that was one big shift. And even the congregation in church goers, I think that, for our younger generation, I was back and forth anyway between I may go to church, I may watch online, I may watch a little later. It may not be at 10, 11 o'clock on Sunday. It may be at 5. It may be Monday morning on the way to work. Where I know some of the older churchgoers who were just, I got to go to church every Sunday, that they've definitely had to be more flexible too in what it looks like. So I think that's one big thing. I also think with tithes, my church was already doing some electronic, giving prior to the pandemic, but now not getting or having a more difficult time getting cash and checks and, those type of things. And then people may be, I'm not in church every Sunday, and so I may not give now because I'm not physically there.
Right.
And so how to continue to get the church members to tithe, because we talked before, church is also a business. So having to kind of think outside of the box in what that looks like when they're not, when churchgoers aren't there. Like I said, just the whole shift to virtual, virtual Bible study, virtual small group meetings, virtual, all of those things that I know even for my church took some time to get up. It wasn't like March, 2020, when things shut down, we were ready to go to virtual. I think at this point, if we had to do it again, they'll be able to do it. But I think in March, that was just a huge shift. And then I know for my dad, I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot, but I know for my dad, he had a hard time with no congregation, like with no one be, he was a bit hard-headed and wanting to keep the church going a little longer than it probably should have.
Right.
We're bringing people back a little earlier, and so or how many people, once we started opening up the church again, how many people should be, on the praise team up front, and all of that. So I think the virtual piece, having to kind of shift in tithes and find an out of box way to get people to tithe, and then being minimalist, where you don't have a choir of 50, where you don't have a praise team of 10. This is really showing who your minister of music is, and can he hold this down by himself? I need him.
Right.
I need him to sing. I need him to lead.
Right.
Like him or her, I need them to do everything, because we can't allow more than 1-2 people up on this pulpit at one time. So
Right.
I think that's some of the big things that I've seen with the church post pandemic. Well, I don't even know if we're post pandemic, but during the pandemic.
Right. I don't know if my take on it is whether it's something the church learned per se. But I guess, are these people racing? Can y'all hear that? Jesus Christ.
We sure can.
It's like they're doing this shit in one spot or something.
And
But-
I muted like it was me. I'm like, oh, is that me? Like, it's not me.
No, it's not even close, but I would have thought they would have been gone by now. Anyway, so I don't know if mine is so much like something the church learned, but in reference to an adjustment I think the church made. So definitely, thank you. I've been trying to figure out how to turn this light on. Let me see my face. But either way, I'll adjust myself in a second. But the as far as like an adjustment, so I definitely think being able to adjust to being able. Okay. You guys gonna stop playing? I don't think the devil want me to talk today.
Honey, your thing cut out earlier. You just
Lord have mercy.
the devil is busy.
I'm telling you. As far as an adjustment, I do think that, being able to adjust to virtual, I think the church had to learn how to do that, just like businesses and, anything else. But I do think that it has, or I say has, but it can be, and it probably already has been and potentially could be a problem, or just say a negative, in the sense that like people will feel like they don't ever have to come in again. You know what I'm saying? That's why a lot of people stop going to the movies, because it's like, well, I got access at the crib. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same thing with church. Like you could already watch church on TV and all the other stuff for years, but it's a little bit more frowned upon when you never actually go in. The bedside Baptist, whatever like that. But now that bedside Baptist is a thing, and you kind of still low-key got an excuse, like, oh, I still don't trust COVID. You know what I'm saying? Then you can still not physically be there, even if you do give. You know what I'm saying? Even if you're tuning in, whatever. I'm sure me as a live performer, not trying to say that, pastors are live performers or whatever, but I could imagine they would much more appreciate preaching to humans that are physically in the building, as opposed to a camera and you don't know what the hell these people doing on the other side of that camera. You know what I'm saying? They fixed breakfast. They, you don't know what's happening. And not that it's distracting you, but at the same time, it's just, it doesn't hit the same. You know what I'm saying? So I do think that that could be like a little thing where like pastors are ready for people to come back, and people are like, I mean, for what? Like this been working out. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got to get all these kids ready, get everybody dressed, get everybody out of the house. We can do this here. I can listen and get them fed and get them, you know what I'm saying, or whatever the case may be. Still catch the game. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a convenience thing. And so it's kind of like, if people still do pay their tithes just as much, but they just don't come in, would churches be okay with that? Because you're gonna still financially be okay, but people ain't gonna be there.
Right. That's a good question. Will churches ever be back to full capacity? When churches had 2-3 services because we couldn't fit them all in one. Will they ever have that again? I know with pandemic and them transitioning back, a lot of churches started with just one service or 1 or 2 services.
Right.
I actually think Sunday will tell. Easter, I think Easter would be a good indication of what things may look like in the future.
Yeah.
I think, I think that Sunday, churches should use Sunday as a baseline data point in terms of what things may look like, at least for the remainder of this year.
I feel that. I feel
Mhm.
that. Because
I
Easter
do
is
too.
gonna be the one. If people gonna show up, it's definitely gonna be that day.
Yeah, it's gonna be Easter. And then you have
And
Mother's Day next month as another benchmark to kind of just see what this may look like in the future.
and I was gonna say, Rudy, piggybacking off what you were saying, not only has church been working for the past 2 years virtually, to a certain extent though, I think some churches did a good job of this. Some churches are still working on it and others are struggling, but how to actively engage your church members in this format. And I really think it's more so like older churches that really have been struggling with it because they weren't they might not be tech savvy to begin with.
Right.
Or maybe their members are not tech savvy. You know, Mother Moore.
No, nobody in their church know how to start Facebook Live.
You know what I'm saying? Mother Moore is 89.
My grandson told me if you just hit this button.
And so, so how do you engage? But then at the same time, and so some stuff works. So, prayer calls existed before the pandemic.
Right.
That worked. But doing some type of phone call might not work for the youth ministry, But honestly, at this point, I think everybody is also like computered out. I don't know what another word. You work on the computer, you telework, you have whatever meetings, Zoom meetings all day. And then if your kids got parent-teacher conferences, it's probably a Zoom meeting. If you have any extracurricular activity on the board of whatever, a HOA meeting, Zoom meeting. And then you come with the church talking about we're going to have Zoom Bible study on Wednesday, and then we're going to have the Zoom prayer call on Thursday. We're going to have the Zoom. And so figuring out, a variety of ways to engage with people, because I think we're all just fatigued a little bit with technology. And so I don't know.
All right, now I'm all yours. Sorry about that.
Did you do well?
Of course I did.
Oh wait, you just did the show right now?
Yeah, I just did 5 minutes while you guys were talking. So.
Oh wow!
Oh
yeah,
just walking, getting ready for your show,
right? And Rudy comes like that too. I'm like, wait, he did it right now?
No, it's just a guest spot, just 5 minutes. So, yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah. So I don't know where you guys are at, but I'm gonna jump in.
He did a whole comedy on the podcast. We should have just stopped talking and let him do in the middle of it. That actually would have been pretty cool.
That'd been pretty dope, yeah.
No, actually, what would have been better is I could have just put my phone in my pocket and took you guys on stage with me.
You could. Yeah, that actually. If I would have known, I would have just like, let's just take a brief moment. Here's Terry's comedy
live.
Well, here's the thing. I don't know if my particular brand of comedy is on, is appropriate for this particular podcast.
Even in your 5 minutes.
I mean, if I knew, if I go into it knowing that I was going to be doing it with you guys, then I would change up my material. But definitely not this set.
Not this set today. Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Next time.
Yeah. But if you want my opinion on what the church has learned from the pandemic, they've learned the same thing that everybody else has learned: how to adapt. Or I mean, that's like the whole pandemic thing has been like a cleansing fire for society in general. Either you adapt or you go away. That's natural selection.
Yeah, I think, Terry, because I agree, you do have to adapt. Or not exist as you were. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. Adapt or die.
But and so in your opinion, do you feel like churches, or the majority of churches, or maybe not the majority, did adapt? Do you feel like in your opinion, what do you think?
I feel like a lot of churches took to Zoom pretty easily. I feel like it was easy for people to stay at home, and the people who actually wanted to watch were able to, and then other people, I feel like, just like turned it on and then went back to watching TV or something, just so they could feel like they were a part of it or being supportive or something like that. And then some people just didn't at all. But I will say it was probably very hard on the pastors, just because, you know, it's hard to get an amen over Zoom. You know what I mean?
You don't get one.
No. Can I get an amen? Apparently not, because, I mean, maybe if they would have started their own streaming service that had like an amen button on it or something.
I know, if you know, using social media, I know my dad, and I don't think he does it anymore, but he used to bring like his laptop up there and have a screen, and so he could see like the YouTube or the Facebook live comments. And he can kind of interact and engage that way, you know, or so he'll put amen in the chat or something in the chat, you know, and so he'll have a little monitor and he'll see it on his screen. Oh, Rudy Wilson said, "Sir, amen." Janessa, hey, Sister Rowland. That's what he was trying to do, again, trying to figure out how do you engage your audience virtually, you know. And my dad is always a real personal person, you know. He sees someone out in the congregation, oh, is that Mother such and such? Hey, Mother such and such, you hear me, Rudy, you know, or whatever. And so that's something that he tried for a while, is in the middle of his sermon, like to have his iPad, have his laptop, you know, and so he's trying to engage through the chat.
I know, like, for my dad, so two things. One, he never like shut down as far as like the church, like, no. Like,
Windows back.
My dad was
no, seriously.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he was,
because you don't have to have them.
I muted him.
Sorry.
But yeah, my dad, he was wide open as far as like with the church. But some people, but there a good portion did still use like the Facebook Live option. And I think my dad and them may have been doing like Facebook Live at one point, but it wasn't like a consistent thing. But since the pandemic, it became like a thing, like, make sure it happens. And because there's people who are definitely watching and depending on this, if you will, or whatever. But I also say that on the flip side, or not even the flip side, but just even on a good note, it kind of expanded my dad's reach, because one of his friends from high school, who I think maybe was in the military or something, who was stationed like in Germany, was like watching his videos or whatever. And now there's a whole like group in the ministry of white people in Germany who watch every single week. And they actually come in, well, one of them, I think the main lady, is coming sometime next month or something like that. So there are benefits, you know what I'm saying, as far as the expansion. But at the same time, I do think that there could cause a problem, like I said, just like with the movies, just like with a lot of things. Like, when people are realizing that I can get things at my doorstep, I can get things at the crib, I'm less likely to go out. Because me going out, that's gas, that's outfit, that's time and money that I have to spend to go out and do something, as opposed to something I can literally have right here. You know what I'm saying? I can use my energy of going out on something else.
And I feel like it's crazy you say that, Rudy, because I said I would never be that person, right? I was like, all these Uber Eats, DoorDash, Postmates, Prime, Walmart delivery, all of it. And I was like, I'm just going to have one. And then, you know, I'm going to go to Walmart and it be, you know, whatever. Y'all, today, I'm doing Easter egg hunt for my sister's kids and some of my other cousins. And I said, oh, I could go to Walmart. And then I said, let me see if Amazon got 2-day. Oh, if I spend $25, it'll be here between 5 and 10. What else I need? You know, just
facts.
I was like, when did I become this person who's going to spend $25 to buy $8 worth of eggs just so I don't have to go to the store? So they'll be delivered here between 5 and 10 p.m. even though I have the option of getting them delivered in 2 days or the next day for, you know what I'm saying? Like, when did I lose my patience for stuff? And I agree, because I will say, like, if my church, it's gonna sound horrible, y'all. So we're having, Easter service. I'm going in church. And I'm not gonna say this for Easter Sunday, but we haven't done devotion, old school devotion, praying on the pews, hymnal, all that, in 2 years. It's been praise team. If we go back to devotion and the announcements and basically the 2.5 hour church service, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Do I really?
Right.
Because I don't know if this was with you, Janessa, you can let me know. But with my dad, that's even a good point. With my dad, when they start the live stream, you pretty much getting like the last hour of service. You're not getting the full 2 hours. You know what I'm saying? You're getting like whoever's singing right before my dad and then the message. You know what I'm saying? You're not getting the full service. So even that, people, you know what I'm saying? People, because church start at 11, but I usually don't get to church till around 12 anyway. So I tune in around 12. That's when the live stream start anyways. I'm taking that. You're making it convenient for me. So why wouldn't I take it? At the same time, you as the church is like, well, if I take away this option to try to force them to come in, they may not watch or come in. And now I just don't.
I'll tell you why.
You know what I'm saying?
I'll tell you why, Rudy. It's for the same reason. Did you do any of those virtual comedy shows during the pandemic?
Yeah, I did a couple Zoom ones. Yeah.
Okay, how'd that feel? Did it feel about the same?
Well, yeah. I'm saying, but for my dad,
it was terrible.
I'm saying my dad isn't doing it on Zoom. He has people there live. There's people in person, but then there's people who also do the Facebook Live option, and there's more people who are choosing the Facebook Live option because of the convenience. So, yes, if I'm preaching on Zoom, yes, that's very similar to doing comedy on Zoom. But
which was terrible. I hated it so much.
No, for sure, 100%. But but when you have people there in person, but you have more people choosing the convenient option, I feel I get the dilemma, because it's like, well, if I just go ahead and just take away the Facebook Live, and now you lose people from Germany, you know what I'm saying? Now you lose anybody else who may be watching who you don't know. So the virtual side is good, but I do think that if you are a local member, at some point, I think you should probably make your way to some type of physical appearance, even if it's not an every Sunday thing, but whether you alternate, whether y'all do things, come in packs, whatever the case may be. But I do still think, just like outside of church, human fellowship is good, you know what I'm saying, and necessary. I think the same thing when it comes down to church. Yeah, if we have church on Zoom and it's 2 or 3 of us, I still think that holds up to the scripture as far as 2 or 3 of us being gathered in his name. But the human side of us, at the same time, I do think there's a necessity of human, involvement and engagement. And I do think the virtual side does rob because we love the convenience so much. To Janessa's point of even, paying more to have. I'll pay. Yeah. I ain't got to go nowhere. I'll pay for it.
Well, here's the thing. A lot. I don't know if you know about Christ Fellowship down here, but it's a huge like mega church, but it's got multiple satellite churches. They're all huge things. They've been doing that for years and years. Not on Zoom, but they've been televising, and then they've been broadcasting over the internet their sermons in a very a very produced way. They've been doing that since I was probably 22, 23. So what, 17, 18 years? So I mean, there was little to no difference for them. I don't even see how that affected a big mega church like that was already televising all this stuff.
Well, I mean, there's big mega churches who televise all the time. I mean, even like, we grew up in New Beginning, but my mom was still watching TD Jakes and Noel Jones, you know what I'm saying, or whatever. So, like, I think, like, if you have that platform to be able to broadcast,
right? But this is local,
right? But I'm saying, but a lot of those churches, unless you're talking about a church who just did all satellite, but most churches, even if they're broadcasting, they're still preaching in front of an audience and putting that broadcast
to a
larger audience.
Right,
So what I'm
100%.
saying,
I'm just
but
saying it was an easier transition for some churches more so than others.
no, right,
Yeah.
right. No, for sure, I agree with you on that. But I think the to that point, the hard part for the churches who aren't already doing that, those people are used to being there, and then now you made them used to something else that feels even more comfortable. It was already a struggle for me to come to church. I'm at the club Saturday or whatever, you know. It was already a struggle for me to come, and now I have a legit reason not to come, and I can still technically get the word. You know what I'm saying? I can still get all that. Like I can pay virtually, and the church is doing all these things for the convenience, especially if you're out the country, if you're a member, you in the army, you deployed. What you know what I'm saying? Like it's for that, but the pandemic has made us local people start acting like we're the people who actually need the virtual stuff, and we don't. Because we'll say we're not going to church because of COVID or whatever. We're going to restaurants, we're going to ball games, we're going to clubs, we're doing everything. We outside, no mask, no mask.
I wear a mask.
Only time people wear masks. Only time people wear masks is when you have to. Like people get on planes, whatever, like that. But I'm not talking about y'all. I'm saying the mass majority of people, like everybody outside. But the one place,
Agreed.
you know, it's church. I can say church is the one place, but it is one of the places that people will make an excuse to not go to and take the convenient route.
And I'll be honest, I've had a hard time transitioning back into church. And I feel like I need it, you know, like I want that good praise and worship. I want that good, you know, sermon and, you know, or whatever, and write my notes right there. And like I said, feel the people, you know, around me. Like I want that. But as you said, I've been to restaurants, I go to the grocery store, I go to the gym, you know, all sorts of things. But I think I've been to an in-person service in the last 2 years, once, twice.
Right.
You know, and sometimes I don't even catch the virtual service on Sunday. I'm being real honest with y'all, you know, and it's just like, you know, and so I feel like I find that space because I've felt convicted from time to time and like needing to find that space to get back into a routine to do it. Now I will be there Sunday.
Me too.
Yes,
I will see you in the choir. We got choir rehearsal tomorrow.
Look at you. So yes, I will be there Sunday. But I agree, you know, and I don't even know if I make excuses. I just don't. I haven't been. You know, like I said, because it is nice now to like, oh, let me sleep in on Sunday, you know, or let me, you know, I'll watch tomorrow, you know, it's on Facebook. I can rewatch it later, or you know, it's on YouTube. I can rewatch it later.
I'll get the rerun. Yeah.
Right. I'll get it later. Do I get it later? No. And so oh, that's my sister. So you know, so I do agree with the fact that people have made excuses on not going back to church. But somebody asked me to dinner tonight, and I'm like, all right, let's go.
We had the Hawk game last week.
Right. Exactly.
You feel me?
Exactly. So yeah, nope, I get it.
Kellie, you about to say something?
The lighting is very unfortunate now. I just look like the devil.
Yeah, we can see you though.
Okay.
Was you saying something, Kellie?
Was I saying something? No, just the devil part.
Oh.
Yeah, I look like the damn devil. That's what I look like in this second Rudy and Frank.
I was gonna say one thing I hope the church does incorporate more, you know, as the pandemic improves. I remember pre-pandemic, I was at the church for everything. There was a meeting for everything. Mm-hmm. And you know how we always joke like, oh, that could have been a text message, or oh, that could have been an email. Like, that's real life. Mm-hmm. Your leadership meeting, your trustee board meeting, your deacon board meeting, the back to school bash meeting, the summer camp meeting. We don't have to meet in church. That will help people's work-life balance. Because like you were saying, Rudy, like, all right, I gotta drop Johnny and Kim off at basketball practice, cheerleading practice, go to the church, pick them back up, go home, get there. Like, I think the church sometimes forgets that family is the first ministry. That's what I've always been told. You know, but everybody kind of, I guess, like our other conversation about the children and the marriages, people just put the church over everything. You know, we're just like, God is first, God is first. But we do that sometimes to a fault. You know what I'm saying? We put God first, but we're running all over the place. We're at meetings, we're trying to take care of kids, and we get burnt out. And that's one thing I've kind of had to learn. You can still be a part of church and ministry. You can be a part of church and ministry, but you don't have to be there, physically there, 24/7. Right. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to be at every event. It's a heart thing. You know, what are your intentions behind your heart? And so I think that's something that I personally had to learn over the pandemic. As we shift back, like I told y'all, my choir is singing on Sunday. How involved am I really going to be going back? Because this time around, it's not the same. You know, I have podcasts, I have grad school, you know, I have other things that I am doing. And so maybe I can't be at the church 24/7 like I used to. But
is that the option you really want, is to have a bunch of group texts from your church members? Because group texts suck as it is when it's your friends, you know. And now you make it 4 or 5 church members. That's going to be madness, and that's better than going to in person.
Terry, you might want to switch back to your headphones. You sound like you're on a walkie-talkie.
Oh, all right. No, I can't listen.
But no, I feel like that there has to be a balance. I feel like this may be kind of what you're even saying, Janessa. Like, there are things that the church definitely needs to take from the pandemic. What?
I'm so sorry.
Well, I'm sorry too. I know I'm causing trouble.
What's going on with that?
What happened?
Alexis, my sister who has been on this podcast, randomly just showed up at my house and knocked on my window, y'all.
Oh.
So I'm just like, who is this?
Right.
I love a good jump scare.
Okay. Well,
jump scares
like I was saying, the balance. There does have to be balance. I do think that the church should take things from the adjustments that had to be made. Like like she was saying, meetings and things like that. Like, you can do that virtually. You don't have to waste lights coming in. You don't have to, now you got to buy a little food because people here, you know what I'm saying, to have little finger foods just to keep people, like, no, people can do this at the crib in their pajamas.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or wherever they're at. Maybe they're at a park, at a birthday party. They step aside real quick, do, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, that doesn't ruin anybody's weekend or whatever, anybody's free time. So I definitely think that. But then at the same time, I do think that when it's time to execute either whatever y'all met about or even church service, like when it's time for the group to come together, then the group needs to go ahead and come together. Because what's the point of being on a team and a part of a family and a membership, a congregation, or whatever, and all y'all have is new people joining, and you like, it was almost like me and Terry. Like, me and Terry met for the first time at your house. You know what I'm saying? In Atlanta. Like, I met Terry for the first time in person, same time y'all did. You know what I'm saying? Like, we met virtually. And I'm not complaining about our meeting, but I'm saying, like, if we were going to church together and he's now a new member and now I'm meeting him virtually, I'm cool with Terry. We're just friends, whatever. And I never met this dude in person.
Right.
And it'll probably never happen because we'll be so used to just this interaction. Like, yeah, man, do Terry go to my church? Yeah, man, come to church with me.
Well, I can say,
you would be like, all right,
now, having met you, I'd rather this just be virtual.
Right. But, and then you start inviting people to church. Now you send them the link. You ain't even, you know what I'm saying? Y'all ain't even going inside the building. Like, hey, come to church with me on Sunday. All right. Like, what I got to wear? No, you good. It's on Zoom. You send them the link. You know what I'm saying? They just log in. And I'm sure people will take that, but it will definitely create a complacency.
But you know what else? Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I said, you know what else is crazy though? just the difference between Zoom. So I feel like in Zoom meetings, I've seen people's whole face.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like even in places in the last 2 years where I've met somebody for the first time and all I've seen was them in a mask. And now as masks are starting to come off and I see somebody's full face, I'm like, who are you?
Right.
Like,
Right.
I have no
That's
idea.
like when
Go ahead.
that's like when you text with a girl for a long time, then you finally meet her in person, and you're like, let's go back to texting, okay?
Right.
This was better then.
Right. Right.
Yeah, but for sure, because I'm like, I started a new school in the middle of a pandemic, and so now that people are becoming more comfortable with taking off their mask, and I'm like, I didn't even notice that was you.
Right.
You never realize how much nose and mouth and teeth really make a
I
person.
see them eyes.
Oh yeah, they
Right.
matter.
You
They
like,
matter.
oh,
They
they're
matter for
cute.
real.
Then
Right.
you like, oh, they're not. No, I'm playing. But yeah, like I said, so I think the whole pandemic has just impacted just interaction so much, even physically. Me not seeing your face, I'm not really able to gauge a lot of your facial expressions. For me, when I smile hard, you see my eyes, but for some people, like, you don't really know what's going on under the mask. Versus here virtually, I can see you, I know exactly what you look like, but I can't touch you. We're not in
Right.
the same space together, so it's just all been strange.
Right. No, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. Like I said, that's why I say I feel like it has to be some type of balance. Like the church can't be too traditional where they miss the learning, you know what I'm saying, opportunity from it.
Right.
But at the same time, the people cannot take advantage of an adjustment that was made because of circumstances. This shouldn't necessarily be this shouldn't be a forever thing. Like I said, when it's time to come together, definitely come together. But when it's time to meet, when there's things that does not require you to be in person to talk about, you know what I'm saying? Even if sometimes you have like an early prayer, you want to have like a 4 a.m. prayer meeting. You don't have to. People don't have to come to church at 4. You know what I'm saying? They can do that over Zoom.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They can do it over a phone call or whatever. Like a little, conference call type thing or whatever. Like the adjustment definitely can be made as far as those aspects. I don't care how old or traditional your church is. Like you can do that. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, but when it's time to link up, I think the linking up should definitely take place. That's my stance.
So basically, what you're saying is what I said 20 minutes ago, which is adapt or die.
I don't necessarily think it's an adapt or die thing because I think the adaptation definitely had to happen during the pandemic, but now that the pandemic is phasing away and we're talking about like going back into the church, like I don't think that people will completely crumble if they kept having meetings in person, but I do think they would definitely get a lot of pushback. I think now adapt or die, like once again for me, during the pandemic, if you did not adjust in some form or fashion, then your church would have went under because everybody was making huge adjustments then, if that makes sense. So I kind of agree with it during the pandemic, but post-pandemic, it's
a mix between that and the same thing as we said about doing stand-up over Zoom. Like, is it comedy? Yeah. Is it good? No, not like regular, not like if you're there, not if you can feel it, and I truly believe it was the same way for the audience for those shows. It's like, there's not that infectious vibe. There's not that mob mentality. You miss out on that,
It still was probably better for them than us, though.
And I think it depends on the broadcast too, because I know, like for church,
right. Don't you have a heart out in 3 minutes?
Yeah. But go ahead, Kellie.
No, I was just saying, I think on how you broadcast it too, because I think on Zoom meetings, like we talked about, you're still able to see everybody. In church, we're just watching it. So they, and I don't know how it was for your comedy shows. I don't know for your comedy shows were the audience just kind of watching you guys and you weren't able to see us at all.
Yeah, you can see everybody. For the ones I did, you can see everybody.
And so it was a Zoom, but even then, like I know on your other podcast, you're like, hey, I want you to put your cameras on if you can. See, and for me, that's like, I gotta go. Because I probably didn't do my hair. I probably don't have on clothes. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, it's just so many different factors to it that, I think adapt or die, is a bit extreme. but definitely adapt or something.
I would say probably adjust or die, maybe.
Yeah.
Like I don't because adapting could kind of be like it's a particular thing you have to adapt to, but I definitely think adjustments because you always have to innovate. Anybody like over time, like you know, even if you can keep a consistent product, like you have to do things that keep people, you know, like wanting to come. Like even if you like Chick-fil-A, they got the same chicken sandwich forever, but they'll have the app, and if you buy so much on the app, then we'll give you a free this or whatever. Like there's always perks to kind of keep people involved, you know what I'm saying? And so that always has to happen, whether the pandemic never ever happened or not. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of churches stuck in tradition before the pandemic happened that weren't making the proper adjustments and even the adaptation. So in that case, for sure, adapt or die or adjust or die, even without the pandemic, but definitely even since the pandemic, I think there's even another adjustment, even for the advanced churches.
Agreed.
They had to make, you know, adjustment or whatever. So, anyways, all right, Kelly. Let's
we're almost back to potlucks, so.
Nah, I know if we never go back to potlucks, but on Instagram, you guys can find us at The Worst Ones PK. Check us out. New content coming. If you want to see us, watch the podcast. You can watch us on YouTube. If you prefer just to listen, you can listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast. Just make sure you type in The Worst Ones Podcast. And when you get there, make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, and share. Thank you to our 500,100,003 followers.
We lost one.
Very, very much. Yep, we lost one. Personal page is at Princess Kels 51.
Hey.
Oh, she came back to do a plug.
Y'all, this is crazy. I'm like still trying to get my heart together. Y'all can find me at Melanated Brews for all things coffee, tea, and beer. And you can find me at JBrianna __ for my personal page. I am sorry this episode has been crazy for me. I'm typically not like this. But I love y'all and see you next week.
I think I've been the only stable one today.
That's right. That's true. Which is not usually the case.
Right. That's wrong. Kelly should have been off and we all would have been on point.
Kelly was also on time today, too. Like, I've been stable throughout this whole thing today.
When somebody has to brag about something, you know they don't ever do it normally.
Never.
I was on time today. Yeah, 1 out of 10.
That's about right.
Terry Wayne Comedy on all social media platforms. You can catch me May 15th at the Bergeron Rodeo Grounds doing a very rare 15-minute clean set in front of children, which is going to be bananas.
There you go.
Interesting.
There you go.
Yep. I'm thinking about just doing like a Cosby kids say the darndest things kind of thing.
Gotcha.
That's cool.
Gotcha.
Yeah, why not?
Gotcha. All right, well, at the podcast official page, if you want to join that live conversation that we have, we do it on Zoom, speaking of virtual. The Zoom ID is 815-499-0955. It is the last Monday of every month at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's a good topic. Good job.
Good topic, weird night.
Yeah. Hey, but we made it. This is what podcasting is all about. You know what I'm saying? When you can, you know, push
adjust
through
the dot.
Right.
We adjusted.
Push through all the weird shit. You know what I'm saying? Hey, you get longevity. So we appreciate 500 million plus. We lost one, but wherever you are, we'll see you next week.
Top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world.